So the ramifications of the interview on Fox News for Kamala Harris continue to reverberate across the country as more and more people consume the content and begin to ask questions about the appearance. I want to play a video cut for you of the subject of immigration. This was a subject that I'm certain Kamala Harris and her team were prepped for, but her answers and the desire to pivot to Trump, the desire to engage in storytelling, it really didn't fare well with Brett Baer, who appeared to have a lot of questions to ask. Also, the interview began about 15 minutes late. So, without the amount of time that was allocated for all of the questions that he felt the desire to and the pressure to move through the questions quickly. And that created a clash between the two of them. Take a look.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress.
So we stopped it there because she engaged in storytelling. There was a lot of back and forth between her and Brett Baer. I want to contrast what you saw there, which was straight questions without the kind of painting of a picture, without injecting emotion. Brett Baer is a straight news anchor, and he really delivered on asking direct questions that were not framed so that she could reply with a yes or no. She had an opportunity there to describe, even to her own detriment, but to apologize and say, we just had no idea that there would be an uptick in crime because we're talking about people who have said that they're coming here under asylum claims. But she didn't. She interrupted him. And then, of course, her people on the left, her supporters, have now come out and said, how dare he interrupt her? How dare he so often come at her with these questions? And I'm not sure what he was supposed to do. This is an interview where she should have been answering, and she seemed unable to do so. I think the actual questions, the lack of post-interview editing, the inability of her team to shape the narrative around what was being asked and answered really did not bode well for her. And there's a connection here. He's talking about crime. He's talking about illegal aliens coming into the country and harming Americans. Well, the FBI just recently revised their crime stats, quietly pushing them up. It turns out there were tens of thousands more crimes committed in the last reportable year of 2022 than were initially reported. And the constant news beat, the drumbeat of how crime is down, crime is down, crime is down, Republicans are lying about crime, Trump is lying about crime, he's blaming illegal aliens for things that have not happened. It turns out it was actually true. Real Clear investigations found that the reporting that the nation's violent crime rate fell by 2.1% was actually inaccurate. Crime increased in the reportable year of 2022 by 4.5%. That is an amazing jump. That represents tens of thousands of rapes, murders, aggravated assaults, and robberies. And it's not fair to the American people not to have that information. By the way, major news not reporting on this revision. It's very important for people to know that it turns out there is more crime in America with an influx of people from foreign countries who are unemployed.